friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and today I thought I'd do a video that I've done for myself privately just for fun. And I don't think I've ever done one for my channel, and if it's well received, I'll probably do more because I'm always looking for fun ideas for, tarot videos. Now this it'll be a demonstration reading, but it's based on movie plots, and I'm a classic film person. I love films, from the silent era, the 20s, and then going into the 30s with sound, and 40s. The films from the 30s and 40s are my favorite films, but I do enjoy, films from the 50s and sometimes the 60s. Once it gets into the 70s, it gets into my lifetime, and I'm not interested in those. I'm interested in seeing life from before I was cognizant. Now, of course, I was cognizant in the 60s, so my preference for 60s films would be very early, like when I was too young to remember, like Some Like It Hot, I think was in 59. The Misfits, that might have been like 61 or something like that. So like the very early 60s I'll delve into because I don't really remember that period of time, even though I was alive. At any rate, the film that I want to focus on today is Now Voyager. Now, if you haven't seen the film and you don't want to have any spoilers ruin anything for you, stop now and go watch the film because I'm definitely going to spoil things for you. And I may dip into commenting on other films while I do this video. So if you don't want any spoilers, don't watch this video until you watch the films. And I will list the films down below that I discuss. I'll list them down below so that you know what films I'm talking about, so I don't want to ruin anything for you. Now, the first film I want to talk about is Now Voyager. With Now Voyager, I consider that to be my favorite of all Bette Davis films. Some people think Bette Davis was the most wonderful actress that ever lived. I wouldn't go that far. In fact, most of the films she's in, I can't stand watching because her affectation is too much for me, But I think with Now Voyager, it's appropriate. And I think her affectations, or however she presents herself in that film, is appropriate to the film. Now Voyager, for those of you who are not clear on, what it's about an ugly duckling changing and growing and becoming who she is. And it wasn't an easy task because she had a mother who was holding her back. She was a late child, and the father died soon after the child's birth. And so the mother held on to the baby, and then the baby just sort of became her caregiver and just somebody that the mother was forcing to stay home and not allowing her to grow and blossom. So at some point, she has a family intervention, and they get a doctor involved, and she goes to a place to heal emotionally and mentally. And then as she's being discharged, a family member, her sister-in-law, decides, wouldn't it be awesome to send her on a cruise so she could not come home directly and deal with the mother, but just go on her own and just have a couple of months fun, They were very wealthy, which she does. And on this cruise, she meets a man named Jerry. And they have what seems to be the most romantic experience, whereby after the cruise ends, they both know that they found the love of their lives, and that, they hold on to that, and cherish it for dear life, because that's the special thing that's between them. Now, the only reason that they can't get together and have a regular life is because Jerry is married. So with Jerry being married, he's off the table. So when I watch this movie, I can't help it, but part of me says, well, Jerry was just getting a little action on the side. He was a married man going on a business trip. And for a couple of months on a boat, he had a good time, and then, they didn't see each other after the trip was over, but they held into their heart that it was going to be great. That was their passionate love, that they both had in their whole lives, So the cynic in me was kind of like, yeah, Jerry was just dipping a stick, and maybe took advantage of the fact that she was naive still, even though she had gone through a metamorphosis, and but she was still a little on the vulnerable side. And I kind of sometimes suspect that there's a possibility that Jerry was not as wholesome as he seemed. I think maybe he was just taking advantage of an opportunity. Now, of course, everyone who loves Now Voyager is going to be furious with me. And I would be too if I really believed that there was no chance of that. So I want to put it to the cards. Is the intent, or was it the intent of the author or the person who created this story? Was it their intent that it could have been open to that kind of possibility, Are we all, the willing suspension of disbelief? Are we all just assuming and believing that it was this wonderful, glorious love story, when really in plain view, it's just somebody taking advantage of a situation? So that's what I want to find out. So I'm only going to lay, say, 3 cards. I think we should get the idea with 3 cards, whether or not he was sincere, or whether or not he was taking advantage of a situation. And I hope that when we see the cards that are drawn, that we'll get an understanding of one of those or the other. I hope you understand what I'm trying to do here. So let me flip the camera and lay some cards. Alrighty, and the beautiful deck that I'm using today is Tarot Neoclassico 1810. I'm using it because when I think of this, I think of Napoleon, and when I think of Napoleon, especially in regards to love, I see him as a little bit of an opportunist. I think of Josephine as I think of people who are open-minded regarding their sexuality. Okay, so I've handled and mixed the cards, but I'll just do a few shuffles on camera so that you know I'm sincerely choosing the cards. My understanding and my intent is just to lay 3 cards to get a sense of whether or not he was an opportunist or if he was sincere. I'm not sure exactly what cards will show those things, but okay, we have 7 of Swords. We have Justice. And we have 7 of Coins. So we have Justice flanked by 2 sevens, right? And interestingly, 7, being a number of transition and moving forward and progress. But these two suits are at odds with one another. We have air and we have earth, right? And when they appear together, they suggest an uneasiness. And so the person in the middle, which is Justice, is affected by the clash, so to speak, of equal measure. They're equally as strong. The 7 of Swords and the 7 of Coins, the 7 of air and the 7 of earth are equal, right? And so I think it suggests that there's something suspect about this card, in the card that's in the center. So we have Justice. We have a sense of perhaps things aren't fair. Perhaps things weren't as equitable as they might seem. And surely anyone who watches that film, even if you go away feeling as though they were each the love interest of their lifetimes, right? You still can't help but think that Charlotte got the short end of the stick, right? Now, I'm going to let's check out the quintessential cards. So we have 14 here, and then we have the 8 of Justice. So 14 and 8 would be 22, and that's the World card. Wow. Or no, 22 minus 22 would be 0, and that's the Fool, excuse me. The World card is 21, so the Fool, oh wow. Fools fall in love, fools rush in. I was hoping that it would be really quick. Here it is. He's an older fool, no fool like an old fool, right? So I kind of think there's a certain amount of tongue-in-cheek disingenuousness about that plot, Like I mentioned, the willing suspension of disbelief. We're all willing to believe that it was the love of a lifetime, but perhaps there was an undercurrent of what I just mentioned. Okay, let's try another movie. Okay, so here's another one from the 40s. I think it was from the 40s, like maybe 45, 46, something like that. And that is The Time of Our Lives. The best years of our lives. And it had some great acting. It had Myrna Loy, it had Fredric March, it had Dana Andrews, it had Theresa Wright, it had Virginia Mayo, it was just a great film. However, I'm always nagged by the fact that the Virginia Mayo character is created to be the villain. If you haven't seen, again, I'm telling you, this is a spoiler alert. If you haven't seen The Best Years of Our Lives, go pause this and go watch it and then come back to the video, because I don't want to ruin it for anybody. Or if you don't care, just be forewarned that I'm about to spoil the film for you. But the film takes place right after World War II. 3 gentlemen from different branches of the armed forces come home. One is a Navy man, one is an airman, and one is I guess Army, Navy, and Air. And one of the characters, Dana Andrews, is married to a woman. I can't remember the character's name, but she was played by Virginia Mayo. And she becomes disenchanted with her war hero husband. When they got married, before he left to join the service, they were, young in love, flashy, a little trashy, instant physical attraction kind of couple. But they were married for like 10 days, and then he got sent out. When he comes back, his wife is no longer satisfied with the life that they're living, and she feels that she could do better without him. She feels like she could do better on her own, and she just wants to start over and ditch him. Now, she's considered to be, let me flip the camera. Now, her character is considered to be the villainess of the film, because she's just awful. She's just, when they break up, everybody's like proud. I can see everybody cheering in the audience, if they were watching it in the audience in those days. But for me, I kind of side with her, because I kind of figure, well, I'd never be happy living over the railroad tracks of a guy who lacks ambition, and it's not my cup of tea. I could love him all I want, and I could be physically attracted to him all I want, but I would still expect that we'd be on the same page moving forward in what our lives want to accomplish in our lives. And, when he comes home and says, hey, baby, we're going to eat canned beans and you're going to like it, I'd kind of be like, well, maybe I won't like it. Maybe if this is all you're seeing for us, then maybe it's time for me to move on. And, okay, so what's my question? Well, the question is, he becomes enamored by and with Theresa Wright, who is, of course, wholesome and sweet and, everybody's idea of like, a wonderful girl to be matching with, But I don't see her accepting the lifestyle that he, I forget his name in the film, was offering his first wife. I don't see Theresa Wright's character saying, yes, I'm going to live over the railroad tracks, with your mom and dad in a poverty-stricken location, and we're going to have baked beans, and just because we're so in love, it's all going to work out. I don't see it happening, because she came from a family that was extremely well connected and affluent. Her father was a banker. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I think, and at the end of the film, they get together, and they're true love, and they've met, and all the obstacles are removed from their lives, and they can be together. But he tells her, it's going to be rough, baby. We're going to live marginally, baby, but we're going to do it, baby, and I'm kind of like, yeah, hell, I will. So at any rate, I just really want to see if this was realistic, or how much, what percentage of the original creator, the person who wrote the story, like, did they really think that that was going to be something that the audience would overlook? And I guess it has. Again, the willing suspension of disbelief, Any rate, I'm going to flip the camera. We're going to lay some cards, same deck, to see if Theresa Wright's character really, really would have been satisfied, as the film kind of wants us to believe she would be. Okay, let's do a couple more shuffles. So you know it's a genuine shuffle. And I'm not trying to do any funny business. Let me try. All right. So is it realistic to believe that the Theresa Wright character would have been happy, Look for clues. Fortitude. 4 coins. And 7 of swords. The quint for this would be 11 and 4 is 15, 15 and 7. Wow, 22. Wow, same as before. So that, oh my gosh, right there. So the Fool, 22 minus 22 would be 0. So that would be the Fool. So again, I guess it's like a fool's errand, right? Gosh, isn't that something? I mean, we have the same clash between earth and air. So we have the same conflict, between earth and air. Slightly less in earth, a little more in air. But there is the conflict, which suggests that, maybe the underside of fortitude is what will be represented. So what is fortitude? Being tough, sticking it out, seeing what you're made of. But maybe the suggestion here is that, the strength begins to crack. There's just the possibility that what I'm suggesting could have occurred over the long haul. Plus we have the Fool card here, which mean, maybe getting, fools fall in love or something like that. Like, just like this, I said the last time for the last movie. Wow, it's kind of crazy. Really? Okay. And then there's one more movie that I want to mention, and that is, I think it was written by Noel Coward, and it was Brief Encounters, which is a British film. The actors and actresses, I think Trevor Howard was the main character, and the woman was an equally famous English actress, but her name escapes me. And they have a brief encounter. They meet each other by chance, and again, they're both married, and they feel like they're so in touch with one another that they've met the love of their lives, but they decide that they can't run off together because they have children and they have other commitments and stuff. So they decide to permanently go their own ways and remove themselves from temptation. So again, my feeling is, was that really what it was, or was it really the Trevor Howard's characters just having a good time, touching base with a woman that's not his wife, and then he was probably going to go on take this business opportunity all along, but he's just couching it as though it's their way to be noble and to live a more pure life without having the temptation of one another. So there's no doubt in my mind that it's a woman's fantasy, much like now Voyager was a woman's fantasy, believing that this was like the big love of her life, right? But the obstacles that were impossible to surmount. But the obstacles really aren't impossible. You just have to be willing to do the dirty work, and but at any rate. So I'm asking the same kind of thing. Was it really an illusion on the woman's part, or was it genuine? Okay, the Queen of Swords. Wow, man. Another air and earth. It's crazy. Almost of the equal value, you know, well, this is like, would be like a 13, I guess. So it's not equal value. But, and also the Queen would always outrank anything like a high-ranking pip card. But still, they're too high-ranking of the same, you know, of contrasting elements and batons. Another 7. Isn't that wild? Okay, so we have a 7 and a 10 is 17. So that would be the star. So let me pull the star card. Hopefully it's not buried too deep, but it's always a good opportunity to see the lovely cards of the deck when I have to go through it to pull a card. I hate when I go through it and then I skip it and didn't notice it while I was going through it, which happens on occasion. Here we go, 17, the star card. So there is a certain amount of doubt, right? There is a certain amount of doubt. I mean, this is the Queen, this is the woman, you know, the woman. From her perspective, she's all about it. But there is that element of doubt because these are conflicting elemental dignities. And then the baton sort of reinforces that it's like a physical kind of thing, of a physical nature in the context of this question. And then the star card, well, I guess she continues to believe it. I think, you know, it's her fantasy and she'll make it as big as she wants. So in her mind, it's genuine and it's true. And, but to me, it really seems like a fantasy because then I think she tells her husband, who's very sympathetic and understanding of the whole thing, like, be like, bitch, get out of my house. You know, sorry for the expletive, but you know what I'm saying? Like even that part, like telling your husband that this is what happened and oh my God, it was so profound. And he holds her hand and hugs her and says, oh, honey, oh, I'm so, you know, I'm so sympathetic with what you've been through. It's like, come on now, that's totally a woman's fantasy, but that's what this looks like. It looks like maybe it was her fantasy, her dream. Her dream. Isn't that interesting? For all 3 films, we get the elemental dignities and the same representation, you know, kind of like between swords and coins. And I guess 3 at a time is good. If you like this, I'll do more. But I just like to see how this one goes. Until next time, friends, peace, stay well, be kind, do no harm. And I guess that's it.